All right, welcome everyone as you're starting to come in. We are so happy to have you here. Welcome, welcome. As people are gathering, go ahead and drop into chat. Let us know where in the world you are joining from. We want to see your geographical location. We're going to kind of get into your state of mind in a minute, but let us know where you're joining from. I'm Emily Sicorsi, as people are coming in. I lead brand marketing and brand intelligence for Funeral Women Lead. So welcome. We're so glad to hear you. The rest of the team you'll hear from in just a minute. But go ahead and put into chat where you're joining from. New Orleans, Tulsa. Michelle's joining from New Orleans. A couple from New Orleans. Smyrna Beach, Florida. Big Lake, Minnesota. Alicia, I see you. Columbus, Ohio, my home state of Ohio. Wonderful. Houston, Texas. Is it hot everywhere? Is it as hot as it is here in Phoenix, Arizona, where you are? Seems like we had a huge storm here last night, so that was nice. Us Arizonans get pretty excited about storms in these parts. So we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes, just as we let people in and get settled. So welcome. All right. San Francisco, Bay Area. Misty, I'm heading up your way tomorrow to go see a concert in the city. So excited. Greetings from St. Augustine, Florida. Portland. Wonderful. Dallas, Texas. Portland. Philly. Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We have a really great mix of geographic locations joining us. It's awesome. So we're going to get started in 1 minute. And we're going to kick off, but feel free to drop into chat if you're just joining us, where you're joining from. This is going to be really interactive, so that just kind of gets your chat fingers going as you're getting started today. All right. Jen, you grew up in Cleveland. So did I. Was born in Cleveland. My favorite aunt and uncle are still there. I visit all the time. I love it. Cleveland Heights. Yes, I was born in University Heights. Love it. New Jersey, hot and stormy. All right, New York is in the house. Toronto. That makes us international, y'all. Welcome, welcome. Yes, Aaron, chat fingers, like jazz fingers. Yeah, yeah. I just rewatched Hail Mary Project, and he does the jazz hands a lot. So that's top of mind. All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy to have you. We are so excited to have you joining us, and we're really grateful for your time, for registering for this conversation about the state of women in funeral service and death care profession. Sharing the results of our Pulse survey. We're so pleased to have you. Whoops, sorry, I'm slipping ahead of my slides here. I know we just asked where you're from, but we want to keep that interaction going. So go ahead and share either in your reactions button in your bar on the bottom of your screen an emoji that reflects how your week is going so far. So we're going to check in on the state of you. So how is your week going so far? How are you feeling today as you join us? You can also drop an emoji into chat if you prefer to do that. So you can either react or you can add something to chat. So seeing some sunshine, seeing some celebrations, laughing, crying. Love it. Yeah, it's been a week. I've had a super crazy week. Thank you, Kristen. That made me laugh. Love the gifts. Keep them coming. So it's always important to kind of check in. As you know, if you're familiar with Funeral Women Lead, we really care about well-being. So we're concerned about how you're feeling today as we get started. We want to dive right in, but before I pass it over, I do want to just say my name is Emily Sicorsi. I lead brand marketing and brand intelligence for Funeral Women Lead. I will be your guide and host today. But as we get started, I want to go ahead and turn the mic over to our fearless founder and CEO, Lisa Bowie. Lisa is an incredible visionary, a trailblazer. She's got over 47 years of experience, almost 5 decades of experience in the profession, 39 as a leader. So, Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Emily. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see all of you, the familiar faces and lots of new ones as well. We're so excited to have you. You know, as a young woman funeral director in a male dominated profession back in the late 1980s, and thank you, Emily, for that 47 years. Sometimes it feels like forever, and other times it feels like yesterday. I took over my family business after my father died when I was only 30. There was very little support for women in our profession back then. And I was licensed for 8 years. I had no idea how to run a funeral home, cremation, or cemetery business, much less lead myself or anyone else. I was a young mother. I was scared. I was untrained. I survived, but I made many, many mistakes. And I had to work hard to find the right advisors I could trust, not the way to learn. And after I retired in 2019, I really had a strong desire to give back to our profession, especially to help women in leadership. And I was surprised to learn after the pandemic was over, there were no or very few resources available for mentorship, coaching, or long term development, especially for women. I also found that women were not being supported in areas of burnout, wellness, self confidence, and additional training, executive or management or leadership. Many of them, we also found out, were leaving because of poor pay, non flexible schedules, lack of promotion, and some of them even being told not to have children if they wanted to be successful. That's hard to believe, but we heard that story more than once.
Mhm.
That's the reason Funeral Women Lead Foundation has been founded and is here. We must listen to these women's stories so we can work together to help provide the support they so desperately need. Now, many have asked us over the last 2 years why we focus solely on women. With a 78% female graduation rate reported in 25, today from schools all over the country, and companies telling us that the majority of their workforce are women, we believe it's the right thing to do. And we believe we need to build long term programs that help retain them. And here's another reason why. Just this last week, we received an email from a young woman seeking our help who is unable to complete her licensing requirements because she can't find an apprenticeship in a sizable middle market. She's been put off, ghosted, and made unfulfilled promises by 6 different companies. Y'all, she's a former Girl Scout. She's won leadership rewards and is a top student with an outstanding resume, yet she can still get an interview at all. So she shared with us that she may be forced to leave this profession that she feels so deeply is her mission and passion in life. Now, how sad is that? It breaks my heart. I sure hope it breaks yours too, but I hope even more it touches your heart deeply. We must do something now to help support these women's career journeys, not just a one and done seminar or program, but long term investment into women's careers. That's the real reason we're here today. And the real reason we surveyed hundreds and hundreds of women from across the country throughout our profession. And to help us listen more, let's reintroduce Emily Sikorsy. Now, Emily said a little bit about what she does, but she has 26 years in strategic communications, marketing, branding, and research strategy. Thank you, Emily, for being with us today.
Oh, so happy to be here and lead this conversation. You can see the agenda that came up on the screen, and hopefully you got a chance to glance through it as Lisa gave us that warm welcome that really made it real with stories of actual women. And Lisa's own story. Thanks, Lisa. So without further ado, let's dig in. I want to start out this conversation with a really important framework. And it's got 3 components. The first one, these 3 components were the drivers that we used as a Funeral Women Lead team as we began to think about doing a pulse survey. The first one is listening. We were here not to try to lead a conversation or to have leading questions, but to listen to you, the women and the people who are working in this profession. The second is to reflect back. So once we gathered all of those voices, and there were 555 people who responded. So I'm not sure what the numerology is on that, but maybe somebody can tell me about that. Um, we wanted to reflect what we heard, right? We were here to uncover themes, not to impose what we thought might be said. And then the third thing is to be the hosts of the conversation, reflect what we heard, our findings back out to the larger profession, and first and foremost to you who took the time to respond and who have been staunch supporters of our mission from the beginning. So we made every step, as you can see at this bullseye here. We took every action to try to engage as many people as possible over the 6 months that the survey was open. We were hoping to get as unfiltered a view of the profession as we could. So that's a little bit of our scope, the scope and the drivers of this Pulse survey. So for you, how are you feeling? I asked you how you were feeling this week, and thank you for all the reactions in chat and on the screen. But I'd love to just take a quick pulse survey right here in the room of how are you feeling about the profession today? So let us know in chat how you're feeling about the profession today using an emoji or on a reaction on your screen at the bottom of your Zoom screen. How are you feeling today? Kelly, thank you for that. If you're licensed, it seems like you can write your own ticket. We need licensed funeral directors so badly, but they have to get there somehow. We got a kind of half grin. We've got hopeful. We've got smiley faces coming through. Yeah, keep them coming. Keep them coming. I think it's interesting to see. I got a we have a sad face. Right? Those are all legitimate, all welcome, all part of this conversation that we're hosting. Thank you. Cautiously optimistic is another one that's coming through. Let's dig into the respondents. So very balanced response rate here. As you can see these 30s across this bar across the screen. So Taylor, if you can launch our poll, as we look at the respondents from the survey, love to get a respondents poll for you in the room about your career stage. So what career stage are you in? This is what we asked in the Pulse survey. Are you early career, mid-career, leader? Let us know. Just interested to see how that compares to what we found in the Pulse survey. I'll give you another second or two to answer the poll that's popped up on your screen. And Taylor will share the survey. The survey says, Taylor, if you could share the results, I think they'll pop up on the screen.
Yeah,
Ooh, somebody's got.
we only have 72 participated. So if everybody could make sure to answer real quickly, that would be great.
Yeah, please. Thanks, Taylor. How does the room compare to what we heard in the survey? And just as that's happening, you can see that the survey, the majority were leaders, right? But not by a lot. So there were 39% of leaders responding. 31 was the next biggest group of the early career, 0 to 5 years. And then the mid-career still strong showing at 30%. So we really see a nice balanced representation across career stage. And in a second, we're going to talk about age and generation. Taylor, can you share the results?
Absolutely. So early career from 0 to 5 years is 13%. Mid-career, which is 6 to 15 years, is showing 37%. And
Okay.
leader, 16 plus years, is 50%.
Okay, so that's the biggest swath there, our leaders. Welcome. Thanks, Taylor. Awesome. And thank you for sharing. Okay, so let's get into the conversation around generation, which is always a big one. So we ended up with about 80% of our respondents being millennials and Gen X. So 43% of millennials were our respondents and 37% of Gen X. So kind of those two generations back to back. Then we had about 10% of baby boomers responding and about 9%. Gen Z was our smallest portion there of respondents. So only had about 9% of Gen Zers responding. So when we look at this data, we see the key takeaway here is that 4 in 5 respondents were either from millennial generation or Gen X. And as we'll get into a little bit more later, we saw a heavy burden of the profession being concentrated in those areas. We're going to talk about and explore the effects of that burden or that pressure. Does this mix surprise you? That's what I'm curious about as we get into this conversation. So let us know in chat. Are you surprised by this generational mix, or does this pretty much reflect what you see every day in the profession from where you're at, from your purview? Not surprised. Nope. This is our current workforce that is struggling the most. Nope. Spot on. Okay, interesting. Yep. As one of our Melinda says, she's a recruiter for Funeral Group, and that's dead on. So that's really validating. That's good to hear. So it does sound like we got a representative sample, not just in career stage, but also across the generations. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. So we identified 5 different themes across the results of the Pulse survey, and that's what we're reporting on in our State of the Women report. And as you look at these, and I'll talk through them in just a second, I'll be curious to know after we talk through this, kind of how you're responding to these 5 themes, just at a high level. What we found as a general narrative is that what's happening in the profession for women is perhaps less of a retention crisis, and it's less a retention crisis than perhaps a burnout. And we can talk about that word. We can dig into that word and decide if that's the right word. But we heard about depletion, and we heard about the stresses of schedules and the stresses of pay. And so we kind of encapsulated that into this word burnout. Sponsorship. We're going to talk about sponsorship and mentorship in a moment, but people really wanting to be mentored, to be guided, to be coached, to be led through their career with some advocacy, and then a pay crisis. But despite, I don't know if you see those as negative positives. What I see them as are interesting kind of polarities. So this is a story about passion and a story about depletion. So there's genuine dedication to this profession, but then there's factors like long schedules, there's factors like low pay or not enough progression of pay. There's a mentorship sponsorship gap we're going to get into in a minute. And there's a voice and opportunity gap, which is interesting to us as we were discussing it, because our whole intention, right, was to listen and to amplify the voices of women in this profession. And then there are also generational pressures, and we're going to double click on that and really go into some depth with the generational dynamics there. So our takeaway as we met as a team and as we diagnosed or we discussed these findings was that the industry's retention rates are masking high levels of systemic stress. And so we want to really pay attention to those factors. We asked a lot of questions about what was impacting women in the profession. So having presented these top 5 themes, and again, we're going to go into depth in just a moment, but kind of how are you feeling about these findings? Are they surprising you? Are you feeling shocked? Are you feeling concerned? Is this reflective of what you have been seeing? Let us know in chat. Get to my chat screen here. All right. Melinda says the staying in the profession statement is true of all. Yes. It's true of all that stay in the profession. Industry as a whole seems underpaid. Definitely hearing that. Kristen says she feels validated. This is reflection. Cause for reflection. This is correct. Not surprised at all. Robbie, thank you for that. Expectation versus reality is a chasm sometimes. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. These do not surprise me. Okay, let's dig in a little bit deeper on that first theme, which is this, again, the story of immense dedication and commitment, and a battle, so to speak, with depletion. And that was a word that came up in the survey. And again, we were curious about burnout, but we didn't want to be overly suggested in the questions that we asked. So 73%, as you can see from this first dial, say they feel emotionally depleted at least sometimes. 75% feel likely or very likely to still be in the field. So they're depleted, but they're not planning their exit yet. They are very committed to what they're doing. And that commitment came up in a lot of the comments. This is one comment that really reflected more of the burnout. I was burned out at my previous job. I just couldn't admit it, right? Again, the retention rates are masking high levels of emotional depletion, particularly among the female staff. So that's our first theme that we're interested in sharing more about as we release this full report next month. The second one, let's get into the burnout conversation. So I'm curious for you in the room, if you were one of the women that responded to the survey, thank you. But today, I just want to kind of quick question here. Have you experienced burnout in this career in the last couple of years or the last few years? Have you experienced burnout, or just a simple yes or no in chat? Let us know if you felt burnt out and needing a change. What we heard from the women that we asked as we were listening is that burnout wasn't just, we dug a little deeper. Like, what is the cause of this depletion? And what we heard: compensation, schedule, staffing. This quote here kind of said it all. I work a second job to supplement my income because $15 an hour does not meet my bills, right? So this takeaway that better pay and more staffing top the list of would most improve sustainability for women in the profession. And that is probably the most important thing. They feel like if there were more people that were sharing their responsibilities, that would help to free up or to keep women in the profession longer. So I'm curious. I'm going to go to my chat here to see if you have experienced getting some yeses. 2020 was horrific, right? No, yes, it's kind of split, right? Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. I know that can be a sensitive question, but yeah, great. Okay, moving on into our third theme here. So we heard from you about mentorship and sponsorship. So I want to take a second to define those a little bit. The mentorship is when someone is kind of walking alongside of you. It's not necessarily the person that you're working for, but it's somebody that you have met, that you have networked with, that you've seen in your space that agrees to be your mentor and have a formal or informal or maybe more formal relationship of like informal coaching, conversation, career guidance. Sponsorship is when a person is actively advocating for you. So perhaps it's somebody in an association that you're involved with that are actively suggesting potential career moves or places where you can become more engaged in your professional realm. And what we heard from the survey, as you can see from this headline, is that mentorship is desired, but active sponsorship is rare. So 80% of you said that you did not have a mentor. Almost 50 said they wanted to go even further than that and get a sponsor, right? Somebody who can actually help them on that path and define their path forward. And only 13% have an actual sponsor or advocate. So there's a difference between that advice and actually kind of developing a plan to build your career, develop yourself as a leader, and take those next steps. At this point in the conversation, I really want to bring in Erin. She is our Senior Director of Education and Program Strategy. She's got over 2 decades of experience with leadership and education, and she leads our Leadership Academy. So Erin, I want to throw to you on this slide Talk to me about how this connects to the work that we do at the Academy and also just generally what you're seeing in terms of mentorship and sponsorship.
Yeah, thanks, Emily. So one of the things that really stands out to me in these results is the gap between these women who want support and then actively having someone advocate for them. I've seen this throughout the workforce so many times. Women often have people they can go to for advice, but far fewer have someone who will say their name in a room they're not in.
Mm,
They won't
mm,
recommend them for an opportunity or intentionally even help to open the next door.
mm.
So that's something that
That's
we're very, I'm sorry.
no, that's huge. I love that phrase that you said there, Erin. Like, say their name in a room that they're not in. I think that's a really good way to describe what sponsorship and advocacy does.
It is. And it's really hard when I've been in that position. I've had mentors and they cheerlead you and rah, rah, rah. And then I've had sponsors, and those are the ones that are really going to help you improve who you are and with your career.
Yes, it's
So
sort of the difference
taking
between thinking about it and actually taking directive action toward it.
Right. So this is something that we're very conscious of as we're building the academy. The academy is not just about developing leadership skills, it's about expanding the relationships, visibility, confidence, and access. So through coaching, peer connections, and exposure to established leaders across the profession, we want women to lead with a stronger network of people who know what they're capable of or who are willing to advocate for their advancement. Because mentorship can help someone grow, but sponsorship can change the trajectory of a career.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know for me, there's a certain people in my career that I look back and I say, that person hired me or they said, you need to be in this role. And it changed my life. Like they're the changed my life kind of people. And it sounds like our women really want more of that, or that's what they told us in the survey. Thanks, Erin. As we move into this next theme, voice and opportunity, I want to bring you back in just a second because this is so relevant to what you were just saying. Being good at the job doesn't guarantee being seen as a leader, right? We have a woman say, I did ask for a title promotion 2 years ago. She felt like she was doing a great job and she got it, but the process was nerve wracking. And just, I love the vulnerability and the honesty of this comment that she's still fighting her own imposter syndrome. And this is something we saw in the survey, right? 1 in 5 women, even with the title of director or executive, they still want leadership development. So this isn't narrowed to just the women who are on the earlier stage, right? This is throughout our careers. But how are you seeing that, Erin, in the work that you're doing with the academy and just all of your education and leadership experience? Talk to me a little bit about what this data is saying to you.
So this result reinforces something that I've seen repeatedly in the workforce. Just because you earn this title, that does not mean that someone suddenly feels prepared, like, poof, I'm all ready for this position. They're not confident and they're not supported as a leader. In fact, some of the women who are already in those director and executive roles, they're still asking, what's next for me? And how do I continue to grow?
Mm,
So this is another part that's really important that we've taken into account when we're thinking about our leadership academy, right?
mhm,
We're not just preparing women to get into those leadership positions, but we're helping them to develop the confidence, the leadership identity, strategic thinking, and executive presence to grow once they get there.
mhm, mhm. It's just, I mean, I've been working these many, 2 decades more, and the growth doesn't stop. Like the the learning never
Mhm.
stops, especially in the day and age that we're in right now when so many things are changing. So I think shifting our mindset to have that as an ongoing endeavor and to also plan for it. And that's where the academy and other things that we're that we're creating will hopefully help support women in that. Thank you, Erin. Appreciate your comments. Okay, let's go to our fifth theme, and then I want to transition into some questions that you might have and a little bit of discussion. So, getting deeper into the generational findings here. So, there's a set of pressure that you all experience in the profession, but for generations, this is showing up differently. The strain or the results of these pressures are showing up a little bit differently according to the results of the survey. So for Gen Z, the strain is showing up around that lack of mentorship, a desire for connection. So that's where, as they're maybe younger, and maybe they've come to this as they've tried something and then come to this as a profession, but they need kind of that guidance through. For millennials, this is our generation that's really, again, carrying that heaviest burden. They're sort of the sandwich generation in the data that they're feeling heavy burnout and pay squeeze. Maybe they haven't gotten that promotion, right? They're not quite at that next level in pay, but they're still expected to do a lot of work and to carry a big role in their organizations. And then finally, for Gen X and Boomers, they're more stable of the groups that we heard from, but they are still wanting that voice. They want to have that say, whether it's in the larger profession or within their workplaces, and they want the respect that they've earned to come their way. So we're really learning from this, and what we're reflecting out to you is that interventions must be tailored, that Gen X needs peers, millennials need pay and relief, senior women need a seat at the table. Digging a little deeper here into this, we see again with this mid-career that emotional depletion is really high, as well as stretch assignments in mid-career. So wondering for you if anybody in the room can let me know in chat if this has held true for you. Like that middle point of your career, maybe you're there now, feels the most squished and pressure laden. There's still emotional depletion in the leadership, right? We see a 35% report in there. And of course, in the entry level as well. But I think on balance, the leadership have 53% a sense of influence. And I think with a sense of influence comes a sense of agency, right? That you can make decisions a little bit more freely than maybe you can if you're feeling squished in the middle of your career. So what we've learned here is that the 6 to 15 year mark is a kind of a danger zone. It's a critical danger zone for women in the profession. Lindsay, thank you for your comment. I'm in mid-career bracket. I'm indeed feeling squished. Thank you. Yes. And as we kind of move into, before we move into questions, we really wanted to pull out, there's so many gems in this survey. We did do qualitative as well as quantitative questions. So I really wanted to share this with you and read a couple to you so we can hear in the voice of the women that we asked. It would be nice to see women more respected in the industry and shown the same amount of respect that all of the men in this industry get on the daily. No career or personal growth, too many responsibilities without proper pay or title, workplace drama, supervisors who know it all, but are incapable of completing simple tasks without help. And this is the kicker here. It is hard to survive in a male-dominated industry when the women who are in charge don't want you to win. That just kind of hurts my heart because that's kind of opposite of what we're about. And lastly, I don't know about you, but I'm a writer, and this last statement here kind of feels a bit poetic, if not dark, but I don't feel supported or guided, more thrown to the sharks and told, at least you can do your hair. So hard concept, but well said, perhaps, to really get the attention of other people in this space. So behind all of this data, it's not just data, right? These are individual human beings, women in the space who are expressing a lived experience. And again, we want to hear them. We want to reflect that back to you. And we want to really have this conversation. So which brings us to the question portion of this. So we are reflecting this back out to host this larger conversation with the profession. We don't want people to say, well, they didn't know. Like our charge and our aim is to get the word out about women, what women are experiencing. And while we hope to be part of that amplification of these voices, they're still, to a large extent, moving a little bit more quietly through the profession. So, this is high level. We are going to release something larger, but want to stop here and just ask if you have any kind of takeaways right away, like quick impression, like what is standing out to you from these top 5 themes, the generational gaps, the age. Is it what's coming at you? What's kind of standing out? And you can let us know in chat where what seems to be the thing that is surprising you most, intriguing you most. Do you have a question about some of the data that we might be able to answer? Unfortunately, not surprised. Anybody have a question? Anybody have a thought? Melinda says, sadly, this is standard for women in most industries still. I can't wait until the 78% female graduates are running the industry. I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Sadly, not shocking. We are having parallel experiences. The amount of burnout makes my heart hurt because it is probably being suffered in silence. So true. It's clear that the true leadership is needed. Let me ask you this. In seeing this data, and again, part of our motivation is to reflect this back because we saw a real lack of data, a real lack of research. So does seeing it in black and white and seeing it codified, is that empowering, or what is your reaction to kind of seeing it firsthand? And Kel says, since I'm newer to the biz, I'm surprised that there is still so much bias toward women in the industry. I thought it would be pretty equal by now since women have so much empathy and compassion for people. I think we're naturally good at it. I definitely agree. And it can be a difficult realization as you're starting a career. Sadly, I've seen that the leaders by title are not always the leaders by example. Kate, yes, yes. Taylor says it's exciting to think about data-driven solutions. Melissa says the parallel nature of the findings is empowering because there is common ground here on which to build when we do get to the table. Love that. Yes. That's a really good segue. And keep those questions, thoughts, ideas kind of coming. But that's a really good segue. I want to bring Patty Newswanger into the conversation right now. She is our executive director. And I want to bring her in to chat about how we as a team, as a Female Women team, are ingesting and these findings and bringing them through into the work that we're doing. So Patty, who has 30 years of experience in nonprofit, startup, professional associations, come on in and share with us a little bit about how we've been processing this information.
Thanks, Emily. And thanks, friends, for joining us. As the executive director, really my goal and my focus is to ensure that we are moving this organization in a direction that is connecting the dots between needs and what we can deliver. And I think one of the words that kind of comes to mind after seeing these survey results is it really is validating. Because we are new, just over a year old, we have been feet on the ground. We have been doing so much to get in front of our people. Just in the last year, we've attended 19 professional events where people have been whispering in our ear and telling us things. And so seeing this all sort of put together in data format is really validating not only what we think we needed to be doing, but what we already had well on our way in terms of development of programs and offerings. We did have a strategic planning session back in November of 2025. And so, like I said, we were starting to work on many of these things to address these needs, but this allowed us to even fine tune the direction in which we were going with our programming. So I'm going to just talk about these 4 items really quickly. The Leadership Academy that Erin spoke about, as you heard, it is really tackling and targeting the items that have been identified of the 5 themes that we have been hearing that have been coming up through the survey. Women are looking for mentorship opportunities, and the Leadership Academy is doing that with many other things as well. So we are putting a check in the box there and going to be delivering on that. The Unleash Summit, which we are having at the end of September, is exactly that. We are unleashing the greatness in women, and that means pulling together content and an experience that is providing information and materials to address burnout, resilience, all of the things that have been identified as contributing to what we call emotional depletion. And we actually will speak and we will hear from Jen Koken in just a few moments, as she will be one of our speakers talking about many things, but talking about your superpowers, making sure that, what am I looking for? Making sure that we are taking time, and also to make sure that we're advocating for ourselves, being able to ask for the ask. So I will let Jen speak to that in a little bit. Our community membership, making sure that we have an opportunity for women to have their voice. That was also mentioned in one of the themes. We will be launching our community membership opportunity at the summit, and with that will be resources, discounts on programming, webinars, opportunities to connect with one another on a platform, and also using an app. So again, connecting the dots there. And then lastly, educational partnerships, and that can look like many things. We are really prioritizing working with other organizations, not only educational organizations, but other associations and groups that are helping women deal with all of these issues. So we're looking at collaboration, not competition. And so we will be continuing to do that. Like I said before, we've been getting out there, making sure that we're in front of people. And the key is to get in front of women early in their journey. I think one of the things that was in chat, I think Robbie said this, was the chasm between expectation and reality. And so making sure that people know what they're getting into, and how do you handle some of those things that you really don't have control over. So that is what we'll be talking about through these various initiatives that we have going on in the current and in the very near future.
Wonderful.
So
Thanks, Patty.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. What?
No, I just said that's wonderful. That really shows like how we are trying to be reflective from the data, and then also kind of carry that forward into what we're doing. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our Leadership and Wellness Academy, which is happening at the end of September, we have with us Jen Koken. We are so excited to have her on the call as well today. She's an executive coach, speaker, author. She's got a whole list of areas in which she's an expert upon, one of them being imposter syndrome, which is the word I could not think of a few minutes ago.
I was going to come on and say it, but I just,
Thank you.
it's all good.
Thank you. I'm like going no script here, like just, letting it go. But Jen is going to be doing two amazing sessions for us, interactive sessions. And so she's going to be talking about that. But I think the key point is having Jen be one of our speakers, and we also have Angela on here, who's going to be one of our speakers, is it ties to what has been identified are the areas that women are really looking for the support and the content. So she's going to give take a few moments to talk about her sessions, but I would be remiss if I did not take a moment to say thank you to Carriage. Carriage is the sponsor for Jen's presentation at our summit, and all participants, so you make sure you want to come to that, will receive a complimentary copy of her book, Make Imposter Syndrome Your Superpower. So that's a great giveaway. So thank you, Carriage, for sponsoring that. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Jen. Jen, tell us all about what you're going to tell us at Summit.
Wonderful, Patty. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. And before I do that, listening to the results of the Pulse survey, and my specialty is working with women in male-dominated industries, because that was me. I came up through the energy industry, through politics, and I had to fight my way to the top. I had to fight to get my seat at the table. And I honestly became somebody I didn't like, because I lost my femininity and the aspects of being a woman that make us so unique, because we are automatically drawn to dependence and collaboration. Not that men can't do that, but they have been raised and socialized to be the best to compete. We haven't always been raised that way. We've been socialized to people please and make peace and that sort of thing. Now, some of us, like me, I played sports in college, so I got a lot of that competitive edge when I was in there. Having said all that, I wrote my book, Make Imposter Syndrome Your Superpower, because it was the lessons I wish I knew 30 years ago. I'm a Gen X. So I'm about to be 62. So I was born at the end of 64. I don't claim baby boomer. I definitely claim Gen X because I feel like I identify with it more. But this was the playbook I wish I had had. This was the playbook where I could look at who am I authentically? How do I stay true to myself in this domain of a male dominated industry? Because what we often don't realize, first of all, let me also say this because I did a screenshot of the slide where the woman said, um, hold on, I want to make it bigger because I'm old. My eyes are old. And I used to be a stand-up comedian. So we're going to have fun too while we're talking about all this. She said, and I still fight my imposter syndrome, right? That was from the slide. I'm going to tell you something. Do you want to know a secret? It's never going away. There's one time it does. Do you know when it goes away?
When you die?
Yes. And it's a perfect place for this. I say this to everybody and they're like, oh, but I knew you all would get it, right? Because yes, that's when our brain stops allowing ourselves to be hijacked and triggered by what's going on around us. And what's really important, because we can't always change the construct we're inside of, but how do we stay true and rooted in the face of the burnout, in the face of the not getting paid as much, in the face of another woman not opening the door and creating the space for us to walk through? How do we stay true and on our foundation at its core? So, the keynote, Make Imposter Syndrome Your Superpower, I discovered this in myself in 2019. You'll hear me go through all of that, but I'm going to take you on 5 to 10 minute guided meditation where I promise you, because this is true for every time I've given a keynote, I don't care how big the room is, you will get to the root of your unique flavor of imposter phenomenon because I'm bringing neuroscience to it. It is brain science. That's all it is. And when you can get access to that and understand and get connected to how you're feeling when it happens and the emotions that arise, you can start figuring out how to stay centered and grounded in the face of it all. So that's one piece we're going to be doing. And then the second piece is I'm going to be taking you through one of my signature strategies called the power of the ask, how to ask for what you want without hedging, without over explaining, and get it, and how to deal with the inevitable pushback and the no. So I've actually developed an app for that. You all are going to get a chance to use it in real time and practice asking for something you want. And if you're like many of the women that I coach and you go, well, I don't really know because I've been taking care of everyone else my entire life and or I've been so focused on work, I don't really know what I want. The app actually helps you figure out what it is. We're so busy. We don't often take that kind of time for ourselves. And that is so important that we do. So that's going to be can I say 1-2 punch? I don't like using fight language, but the 1-2, I don't know what I would say, but the 1-2 punch, I'll just say it.
I think you can say the 1-2 punch. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like you gotta, you are a person I can tell already, Jen, who just calls it like it is. So I
Yes.
love the tie in too from the survey into what you're going to be talking about and can certainly relate that the doubts never fully go away and you just deal with them differently. Maybe you have more confidence in different parts of your career than you do in
Well,
others too, right?
yeah, it absolutely ties into executive presence, which is the other
Hmm.
specialty that I have, because executive presence is really how, and Aaron can, chime in on this too, but it's how do I deal with the pressure? How do I deal with the stress in the moment? How do I deal with the bigger visibility? And how do I take my head out of the day to day and look at the 50,000 foot level? And
Mm,
not everybody has mentors or sponsors, right? Not everybody has
yeah.
that access, but you can create powerful partnerships with each other, which is what you're
Mm,
doing already with the
yes.
conference, with the community group. I mean, you all are doing so much already, and I'm really, really happy to be a keynote there. And thank you to Robbie for sponsoring and her company for sponsoring. Really, Wind Carriage for sponsoring. Really appreciate it.
Yay, wonderful. So exciting. So exciting. Patty, back to you.
Yeah, just so yes, thank you, Jen. So excited to hear from you. We also have on our call Angela Ippolito Khanum, who is going to be one of our speakers. We gave her a little preview in our launch, talking a little bit about what she's going to be talking about, and that is somatic breath work. So we're short on time, but please be sure to check out the agenda and get more information about all of the great things that we are going to be doing at the Leadership and Wellness Summit. We have still some spots available, and our hotel is filling up very quickly. So if you haven't registered yet, please do. There's a hyperlink. There's a QR code, and I believe Taylor's putting in the links as well. We still have space in our Leadership Academy, which is the awesome program that Erin has spoken about. What I'd like to know now is if you could put a reaction or a comment in chat if you are joining us. We want to see who's coming. We're almost to capacity, so please be sure that you check it out. Check out the QR code. You can get the full agenda of what's going on. We will be delivering an experience that you do not want to miss. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our fearless leader, Lisa Bowie.
Well, I don't know about fearless, but I'm thinking a punching bag might need to be at the Wild Dunes just to get some experience with what Jen's suggesting. So thank you for that. I used to do that in the gym. It felt so good sometimes just to hit something, didn't it, Jen? Yeah, but something that doesn't like hurt others, right? So thank you very much for all of you attending today. What do we do next? What happens now? So we will be sharing at the summit more details about the results of this survey. Additionally, in 2027, we'll be out speaking to various organizations that will have us or are interested with more details on the stats and the results that we're hearing. And we'll have another survey in 2027. So be sure you stay in touch with us, stay on our newsletter list, follow us on socials. We want to hear from all of you and all the women that are out there. So what can we do about some of the results we've heard? And what will we do? Well, Patty just shared a few of the things that we're up to in our strategic planning, continuing with a large new number of board members coming on and some committees that'll be set up later this fall and a membership program that will be opening up. We want to hear from other women what they think we should do more of, less of, and start doing. So there's a large group that's starting to really connect. And we're super excited about that. And we're being supported by partners. Now, what exactly is a partner? Well, a partner is someone who gets behind us financially. As you know, we're a foundation, we're a 501c3. We cannot do this without the help of our partners, who most are suppliers, but many are individuals who are doing some in-kind donations, as well as some financial contributions. So we can't do this without you. And if you'd like to be part of that program, please go to our website, contact either me or Patty at Lisa or Patty at funeralwomenlead.org, and you can get in touch with us on how to join us as a partner in the future. If you know anyone that you think should be a partner, let us know about that too. And what else can we do? So obviously, Patty's invited you to our Unleash Summit. We know not everyone can make it, but we hope you stay in touch because there'll be future opportunities to connect with us. But the setting is beautiful. Jen is speaking, Angela is speaking, and there's a beachside atmosphere, and it's a way to connect and seek support from other women like you. It's the Wild Dunes Resort off the Isle of Palms in Charleston, South Carolina area. It's just lovely. And stay in touch because we'll have more summits, we'll have more events and more get-togethers. The last thing you can do is share our mission. Our mission of unleashing greatness in women is extremely important. We cannot do this alone. It is going to take not just a village, it's going to take a country of women to come together, to be part of Funeral Women Lead, to help sing our song louder, to help industry listen. Now, they may not listen overnight. It's going to take some time, and we have to be patient, but we have to be strong. Using that punching bag that Jen talked about, we're not going to punch anybody, but we are going to get their ears to hear. What they do about it has to do with our efforts, your efforts, and continuously encouraging everything that we believe so strongly in, and that is advocating for the future leaders of tomorrow, which we believe with the 78% graduation rate, we have to work on retaining those young people and keeping the women that are in the workforce today, because that's the only way women can make a difference in the lives of not just the families we serve, but in the lives of their fellow team members and in the future of this profession. Thank you again for attending today. Know that we'll stay in touch. You'll get a copy of this PowerPoint in your inbox, so watch that. And if you'd like to share it with others and share more about us with others, please encourage them to sign up for our complimentary newsletter. We don't bug you. You only get it once a month, but you can follow us on socials to see what else we're up to. We hope to see you all in September. If not, we'll be at selected independent funeral homes. We will be attending NFDA. We'll have a wonderful booth there. Come see us there, and other conferences in 2027. Ladies and gentlemen who are with us today, please get the word out for us and have a wonderful, fabulous rest of your August. Thank you for coming.